Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Movie and a Han. I'm RJ.
And I'm Paige.
And today we're going to be talking about 1991's The People Under the Stairs by Wes Craven. I'll start by saying this. When it comes to his filmography, highly underrated.
Very much. We haven't touched any of his movies, have we?
Nightmare 3.
Huh?
Nightmare 3 for Spotify.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. But besides the Nightmare movies, I don't think he gets a lot of credit, like you said, for his other films at all.
What else is there? There's
Stupid Us. Scream.
Yeah. That was a haze.
Whoops.
There's Scream. There was Hills Have Eyes.
Mm-hmm.
There was... Is it The Last House on the Left is him?
That I don't know. That I don't know.
It's I think he produced it, maybe?
Mm.
I know he did some stuff. If I remember correctly, I think he was the Wishmaster or the Wishmaker. That's a possibility. He did that. My Soul to Take, I know he did. Was not that great of a movie. He produced the Scream TV series. And... Oh, he did one of the Swamp Things movies in the 80s.
Interesting.
I know.
But yeah, I mean, he's definitely a director that's known for his horror films, but they don't always feel like horror, or if they do, they're genre benders. We'll go more into it, especially with this film. But I'm kind of excited to talk about this.
Yeah, I mean, this was a movie that I watched, I think, a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, oh, I enjoyed it. I remember it being a lot more campy than what it ended up being for us. So, okay, false. This movie was still very campy. It's just the camp was attached to, like, two characters.
Yeah, pretty much.
Who were casted because of how they were on Twin Peaks together.
Makes sense.
But the actual trailer itself... This is one of those movies. So remember, like, before I went, oh, this movie, like, these trailers did nothing for the plots. This movie's plot is so weird. I don't know if the trailer could have actually done anything with it.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think the trailer was fine. It got the point across, and it is intriguing. Like, if I saw this on a VHS, like, before I'm watching a movie, and it's, a trailer, I'd be like, huh, this looks interesting. Maybe I'll give it a shot next time I'm at Blockbuster. But, yeah, other than that, it's fine. Nothing really to complain about. Just, it's fine.
I enjoy it a lot, but you have to remember, there's, like, two people. There's, like, two people in this podcast, of course. Like, there's me and there's you. But you're like, I love the art. And I'm like, I love shit.
I really like that's how you differentiate us.
I love this stuff where the camera is... Okay, first of all, even you acknowledged throughout the movie, cinematography was great.
I couldn't stop. Like, I didn't verbally say it, but every shot, I'm like, God damn, it's beautiful.
This is the first movie we have ever watched together where you did not talk throughout the entire movie.
That's true.
You didn't say a word.
That's true. And I was watching it. I wasn't, like, doing something else.
Oh, this was... I mean, I didn't say a whole lot either. It was just... And I also wasn't... like how I was with Vacancy, where I was like on the internet while watching it because I was just so fucking bored, and I was like, I'm not missing anything, so I might as well be using my time like elsewhere. This movie, it felt like, it was almost 2 hours long, but I never felt like the movie dragged. I never felt that.
I did feel like it was dragging, but I wasn't like, ugh, like, is it over yet? It was more there was a good pace with it, but when he left the house the first time, and then when he comes back, I was kind of like, ugh. I was like, ugh, okay.
Also, just gonna let people know, I have a dryer currently going on the other side of my wall, and my audio is currently doing like little like boop, 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 boop. So if you hear a dryer, or if you hear a noise, it's my end.
Okay. But yeah, overall, I think this movie is definitely interesting. Do you just Do you want to get into it?
Yes.
All right, let's go.
Let's go. Poindexter Fool Williams is a resident of a Los Angeles ghetto. He and his family are being evicted from their apartment by their landlords, the Robinsons?
I don't.
I forgot their.
I don't
I just don't know as mommy and daddy.
Unfortunately, yes.
Who are believed to be a married couple, call themselves mommy and daddy. Exactly, they're mommy and daddy. They have a daughter named Alice, to whom they are extremely abusive. I think this covers like the first 5 minutes, so now we can actually kind of get into it a little bit. So, first things first. This movie has two tones, is how I can put it. There's outside the house, inside the house. Outside the house, shit is dark and grim. Like, I can't sit here and make a joke about shit. Inside the house, it's fair game, because that place is a clusterfuck.
It's a circus, honestly.
So we didn't watch Candyman together. That was something where we had to watch it on our off times.
Shit, yeah, that's true.
This beginning kind of gave me that vibe of a Candyman vibe.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, there's obvious parallels, right? We're in a ghetto with predominantly people of color. It's really grim. The environment is not healthy whatsoever. Yeah, I mean, I can totally see that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, even with, like, how it began with the tarot card reading, and that was the opening credits, was the tarot cards. I was like, this just, it's not the same, but it gives that vibe that even when the movie's not fully going, it's still telling you stuff. And it's, foreshadowing what is about to happen throughout the rest of this movie.
Exactly. I think also that's a good parallel. I didn't even think of that. So the tarot cards reminded me of the opening in Candyman where he's narrating over that skyline shot of the city, and then the bees come in, and that's again a parallel to what's going to happen or a foreshadowing of some sort. So yeah, I can see that.
And then we get to mommy and daddy. Now I'm just gonna break this down. I was eating Wendy's. My Wendy's just came. Yours came like 20 minutes before mine. So I was eating while the movie was starting. And then daddy started eating, and I had to stop eating for that entire scene because I was so disgusted by him.
It was horrible. He's eating like some sort of carcass. I don't know if it's human. I'm gonna assume it was human.
I'm pretty sure it probably is at this point.
But I think maybe the worst part was he was spitting out the buckshots into a bowl, and I was like, oh, yeah. Okay. This is what this is going to be like. Got it.
And
I got it.
The way he ate was disgusting.
Yeah.
It was just that entire scene was so gross. Yeah. We get an introduction. Alice is disturbed. Let's just say that at the minimum, she's disturbed. Daddy's crazy, and Mommy's the type of character that you can tell she's crazy, but you can never tell how crazy she is until she goes full crazy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You're like, oh, this is as crazy as she'll go, and she's like,
I'm gonna crank it up to a 12 now.
This isn't even my final form, bitch. I don't know what you're talking about. Leroy, his associate Spencer, and Fool break into Mommy and Daddy's house by using Spencer to pose as a municipal worker. Mommy and Daddy leave the home shortly, but Spencer does not return. So, okay. This house, because the whole thing is, this couple own the land. And their house looks so run down when you think of they own, like, what feels like 100% of this city at this point.
Right.
This is where I think the movie starts to kind of get its camp. Especially with Leroy, who's like a walking sexual innuendo.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
There was not one line that came out of his mouth, but I was like, yeah, that's not horny.
Yeah.
That's an incredibly oddly horny line. And I was right while we were watching it. He is the one who goes into like the Day of the Dead and like the remakes. He is in those.
Yeah,
So,
once you mentioned that when we were watching it, I was like, huh. And then I saw his face and I was like, oh yeah, it is that guy. He's awesome.
he was a highlight for the short time we had him. But they get to the house. They do the whole like I guess he was a Boy Scout
Who?
fool.
Oh yes, yeah. Well, they dressed him up as a Boy Scout. Yeah.
Doesn't let him in because oh, we've skipped something.
Mm.
This movie decides to be super. I mean, here's the thing: the couple's super racist. We know this.
Oh yeah.
They dropped the hard R. Like, I think like 10 minutes into this movie.
Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised with the language choices that were used, and I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. They got away with this, but I was like, 1991. Okay.
Probably.
Yeah.
But like, I remember we were watching it, and Daddy says that, and all I hear from your end, she only says like I think like maybe 3 or 4 sentences this entire movie she spoke. This I count as one of them. She was just like, "Whoa, okay."
Yeah, that was me. Yep. I was like, holy shit. I mean, I knew obviously they were terrible people, but Jesus.
And then they get the whole they won't let Fool in. They let Leroy in, and they're like,
You mean
Leroy's
Spencer?
good. Spencer in. Sorry,
Yeah.
they let Spencer in. Like, yeah, he's really good. I'm like, he's white.
That's
That's the reason
that's
he's white.
literally the reason. Yeah.
And also, dude's a dumbass. Didn't take his ring off. Mommy's just like, come on in. I'm gonna feed you to the children.
Mm-hmm.
Fool and Leroy break into the house to look for Spencer, and Fool finds his dead body and a large group of strange pale children in a locked pen inside a dungeon-like basement. So, this house.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So, remember, I don't know if I mentioned it on the last episode or if we just mentioned it while we were talking, like, off episodes. But I mentioned that Halloween Horror Nights did this movie twice. Once in like the beginning when they didn't really have IPs, like the 90s, and then again in I think 2006 or 7 for Sweet 16 they brought it back. I get why you can make a haunted house out of this movie because this house has so much going on in it compared to like every other house. There is rooms in the walls, not just hallways, full-blown rooms. There is like odd mechanisms for doors. So when they break in, they pop the door, but when they pop the door, like the entire like shelving system slides.
Yeah, the shelving system slides. There's the metal door they break through. People are literally in the top of the oven. People go inside of cupboards. There's secret paneling that they control the doors with and electricity. The front door is rigged to electrocute you if you try to touch the door. There's a lot. This is just like the first couple of rooms. And then there's the rest of the house that's either booby-trapped or false doors. The downstairs, the stairs can become just a slide. Yeah, it's really intricate.
And we still don't even see, I think, like 70% of the rooms because so many doors were locked throughout that house.
Yeah.
We see Alice's room, which is scary. It's a little girl's room. Like, it's a scary little girl's room.
It's the typical horror, like, scary girl with her dolls and shit. I think their introductions of their characters in this movie were really well done. We understood the situation that Fool was in, really tough. This is his only option that he sees or that's presented to him. He's only like, I think he says he's like 12 or 13.
This was his 13th birthday is
Exactly.
what it started on.
Yeah. Yeah, they really get the point across of who these characters are. You know, I understand their thought processes. Mommy and daddy are absolutely unhinged, but you get it.
So, Mommy and Daddy are what makes this movie a tale of two tales.
Mm-hmm.
I know, a tale of two tales, but like it seriously is. It's whenever they're not on the screen, I actually get uncomfortable
Yes,
for the
either
situation the children are in.
the environment, the feeling of the film, the music is the music is so good in this movie.
Oh, it was really good.
Yeah.
And then those two on the screen, and it's like, okay, sure. Like, Daddy screams the entire movie. I feel like
Mama!
he's just, or just oh, it's just like it's a bunch of screaming.
But it's also scary.
It is. I think they're scary alone, and then you put them together, and you're like, this is too much. Like, don't put them together. It gets really stupid when they're together.
Yeah.
Daddy, I think, is the more comedic guy, but just because he gets home alone a lot.
Yes, he does.
He gets home alone so many times, and his reactions are always slapstick. He has very slapstick reactions.
Cartoony, yeah, 100%.
And I think that's where I find it. I found moments funny. It was just because he would like react to something. And, I think what's about to happen is when you broke out laughing. Is when he comes out in the gimp suit, and it's just like smash cut, dude screaming in a gimp suit.
I was like, what the fuck? This took a turn because I was frightened. Before this happened, I was like, oh wow, this is really uncomfortable. This situation is really uncomfortable. And then he comes down in this, and I was like, holy shit! All right, this is taking a turn.
We've entered the madhouse.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about, they get in the house. There's the dog. I will say, first time I think we've watched any of our movies so far that I felt like the dog was actually scary.
Yes. And not because it's a Rottweiler or anything like that. I love Rots, but
oh no, it just felt like they were letting that dog chase people.
Yes.
And they weren't doing that thing of, oh, look at its face and it's like secretly really happy. That dog was snarling. That dog was like, it was on an attack.
Yeah, they got a really good dog for this movie for sure.
They did. And then the basement is when we both mentioned the cinematography because Fool goes down the basement, down the stairs.
The lighting
and the way that camera
is so nice.
And that basement's creepy. It just has so many pillars.
Straight up. And the lighting that they use with the people under the stairs and their flashlights, obviously we're getting noir, sharp light through the boards. Always love that shit. I'm a sucker for it. It brings a real nice creep factor to this, for sure.
Yeah. Mommy and Daddy return and Fool flees while Leroy is shot to death by Daddy. So, they return. They're like, someone's in the house. So they break the metal door open just enough to where the dog can get in.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see something. Now, this was a very neat little detail. The Rottweiler didn't attack Fool.
Right.
When he only noticed Fool. He was just like, oh, okay, it's a kid.
Yep.
And then there was an adult, and then he went after the adult. I'm thinking they probably trained that dog to only attack adults because, well, they want, we learned probably 10 more minutes. They want the perfect son and daughter.
Right.
And Alice is the perfect daughter. Hence is why every, person under the stairs is a boy.
Mm-hmm.
Because they just can't find the perfect son.
Yeah, they're failed experiments in a way.
Yes, they were evil.
Yes.
They spoke evil. They heard evil. They smelt evil.
This is the scene where they do that chain electrocution, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Fool grabs the hand of Leroy, who's getting bit by this dog. Prince, by the way.
Oh, Prince, thank you.
Yeah. And So Fool grabs the doorknob, the front door. Like I said earlier, it's rigged to electrocute you if you touch it, and so it goes through them. They do their funny little, and then it gets to the dog, which I didn't like. I didn't like looking at that. I mean, I know the dog's fine, but
I know the dog's just laying down. He's probably like, "This is the best part of my day.
Exactly.
I just get to lay here."
Exactly.
And then Daddy gets a automatic pistol.
And this is when he chases down Leroy, right?
Yeah, this is what happens. They did a Leroy chase down where he chases him down. Has a laser sight, which I didn't notice for a little bit. And then Leroy is like, "Oh, sorry, kid. There's not enough room in this closet for both of us. You're on your own." And I was like, yeah, you know what? I knew the walking sexual innuendo has to die eventually because that's all his character is. But at least I want to see you die now.
Yeah, he's not a good person. We've known this since the beginning. We knew he was not a good person. He's a predator on poor little Fool here. But he gets jump scared by what we later find out the person's name is Roach, who comes out of the wall in the closet, scares the bejeebus out of Leroy, who jumps out of the closet, and then, unfortunately, is shot by Daddy.
This is going to be such a weird episode.
I know.
Especially because then eventually you have to get to the point where, like, they don't really give them their names. So when you're like, oh, and Daddy grabs himself because of this character, it's going to get weird. It's so on this Mommy's fine. Mommy doesn't do anything really, like, disgusting. Mommy's just fucking crazy.
Yeah.
She's, like, religious crazy. She's, like, like,
burn in hell.
Crazy.
All that.
Oh, yeah. That's her line of this entire movie. Daddy's about to be in a gimp suit in 5 minutes, so we know where this is going. Fool runs into another section of the house where he meets Alice. So he gets chased a little bit, and he gets through, like, I guess it's like an air duct?
Yeah, it's an air duct grate. Mm-hmm.
Because there's a doll that's, like, getting tugged. He eventually gets to, like, another hallway where he meets Alice in, like, it's like creepy bathroom.
Yes. But it's also a doll of himself, by the way.
Okay, so I couldn't tell because I was getting a little bit of a glare on my end. I just knew it was a doll.
Yeah.
She tells him that the people under the stairs were children who broke the see, hear, speak no evil rules of the mommy and daddy household. The children have degenerated into cannibalism to survive, and Alice has avoided this fate by obeying the rules without question. Which is weird, because she's friends with Roach.
Well...
And Daddy hates Roach.
Right. So I don't know why they let that slide. You would think speaking to... or... What?
Just me just going, and Daddy hates Roach. This is... I'm not going to make it through this episode. Why could you give them normal names?
It had to be creepy.
Oh, God.
But them letting it slide that she's friends with Roach kind of didn't make sense to me, like you said. I think that's, seeing and speaking evil in their eyes, of course.
At least seeing evil, at bare minimum.
Yeah.
Because I thought the whole thing was if you wanted to get away with... If you wanted to, like, stay... you needed to not acknowledge they exist. Right. It's basically the whole rule. Like, you can't acknowledge them.
Right.
Like, you can know they're there, but you're not allowed to, like, openly acknowledge them that they're there. If you are, you're doing evil.
You don't talk about it, you don't look at it type of thing.
And also, this goes into, I guess we forgot about this earlier before, which was very uncomfortable. It was the beginning of the movie, but it was when we get introduced to Alice, and Alice eats her food. And Mommy's like, did you lick the plate? And then she, like, throws a dress on her, and that wasn't the weird part, or, like, the uncomfortable part for me. The uncomfortable part was the brushing of the hair.
Oh, yeah.
and how just like violent she was brushing her hair.
It's just to get across at how abusive this relationship is.
Oh yeah.
You know.
And then, the Roach thing happens where Roach gives her the fork back, and since the fork's a little dirty, she knows Roach had it and not Alice. A boy named Roach, whose tongue was removed as punishment for having called out for help to escape, also evades Mommy and Daddy by hiding in the walls. Also, that tongue scene is brutal.
Ooh, it was gross. It looked more burnt off than anything.
It did.
Yeah. But
you know what it looked like? It looked like what he probably did was, it was probably so gross too. He probably cut it off and then like, when like you get branded, like a person gets branded, he probably like did that to his fucking tongue.
Yeah, it's possible. But it was pretty crazy.
I will say, for a character that does not talk and is only in this movie for like 20 minutes, I like Roach.
Me too. I think the actor's ability to get across his emotions through facial expression, mumbles, some physical acting in general was really well done.
Oh, here we go. They're in the bathroom, they're talking, fool, all that stuff. Oh! And then it's just Gimp Suit Daddy running. Yep. And
he has the shotgun right now, right?
He has the shotgun.
Yeah.
Which is probably the weirder part, is this like this giant Gimp suit, mask and all, shotgun, running, screaming, Paige not knowing what the fuck is going on now. She thought she had an idea what this movie was, then this happens.
I was definitely caught way off guard.
They don't even work their way up to Gimp suit. It's just like, there's a Gimp suit.
This is his normal outfit for normal Tuesday,
I didn't watch this for a few seconds because I was just watching your reaction. Trying to process what the fuck is going on. Because so far, this movie has been dark, it's been gritty, it's been serious. For the most part, there was some camp between Mommy and Daddy. And then it's just a dude in a leather Gimp suit.
Pretty much, yeah. Again, this is a very genre-bending movie. It's got its comedy, it's got its camp, it's got its creepy horror disgustingness, and it also has a good plot. So it just goes to show that you don't have to stick to the rigid, formats that you think you do when you're making film.
Also, this is the first episode where it's the inverse of a home invasion.
I was
the home
going to talk
invasion
about that.
Usually, you're the victim on the inside, but now it's you're stuck on the inside because you broke into a house.
Right.
And I think I was more terrified in this movie, or more anxious, because they were all children.
Yes, it does bring an extra vulnerability to the character. Obviously.
Yeah. And I also like how it's the home invasion isn't, fighting. I mean, the third act kind of turns into that home invasion thing in a sense. But most of this is just trying to escape.
Yep, trying to survive.
Fool is discovered by Daddy and is thrown to the cannibalistic children to die. Okay, this is where I think this is probably where I jumped once in this movie. And it was when Roach jumps on Fool's back.
Yes, this was creepy. Is this where we see Daddy throw Leroy into the pit too?
Yes, so he gets knocked out, I believe.
Who?
I forget how. Oh, I remember what happens. I'm pretty sure this is the moment where he locks the door. Daddy's trying to get in. I think this is where he smashes Daddy in the head with like a brick.
Okay.
But he's like, I'm not getting in that fucking place with like he doesn't know who Roach is yet. All he hears is moaning, and he's like, I'm not getting in there. Mm-hmm. So then he gets Daddy, and Daddy's like, help me drag your dead friend.
Yeah, that was terrible. Oh, my God.
And then he throws him down the stairs, and then he slides Leroy down the stairs. Fool gets knocked out because, he's got thrown down a flight of stairs. Understandable. He's hanging, and Leroy is getting, like, gutted.
Yeah.
Is the best way
Oh
I can
my
put it?
God, it was disgusting. Yeah.
Also, can we talk about something else real quick?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is something I want to compare. These were moments where, now, there was a movie I watched alone, you watched alone, before Movie and a Haunt was ever a thing. It was called Motel Hell.
Yeah.
And whenever he this scene was a little bit Motel Hellish for me, if, like, Motel Hell was good. Just, I loved the use of blood in this movie. I feel like this movie had, like, blood wasn't a shock factor. Blood was, like, an accessory.
It was to enhance. It wasn't
Yeah.
just to, let's spray it everywhere and make people uncomfortable. It's like, no. It's enhancing the horror. It's not just, unruly and everywhere.
And as this is happening, the bathroom scene happens, and Mommy's like, "You're talking to an impure boy," and, like, you're secretly just like, there's so much, like, racist undertones.
Oh, it's not undertones. It's blatant. But that's the point of the
know.
film. To me, it's like Candyman. It's commenting on, the struggles that people who live in communities such as Fool go through, especially if they're people of color, and it's just it's not undertones. It's blatant for a reason.
Yeah, I think I was talking more about, like, because, they'll be like, he's impure, and I'm just like, okay, well, there's two ways you can mean that, because we now know what they believe an impure person is, and it's like a person, who sees, hears, and speaks evil. But then there's also that thing of, they've made it very obvious since the beginning of the movie. These two do not like people of color.
No, and
They
know,
like victimizing them.
Right. We know for sure when she's saying, "Oh, this kid is impure." We're like, "Oh, it's because he's black." Like 100%. That's it.
That's it. So she takes. Okay, let's just go through this because Alice's scene is not in the article.
Okay.
But this was the moment where usually you're the wincer, I'm not the wincer. This was the one that got me, and it wasn't even brutal or bloody. It was just, if you imagine yourself in that situation, this is like one of the, like, peak worst situations you can, like, be put into. So she gets thrown kind of like down the stairs-ish, and she's like, clean up the blood.
Her throw down the stairs where the actress actually slips in the blood looked so painful, and her acting looked real. I don't know if she was actually terrified, but it was very believable.
And then, mommy does the whole, like, and now I'm the bad guy.
Yeah.
Spiel. Like, my life is so hard. I just want pure beings.
My kid just sleeps upstairs and, lazy
Makes
child.
dolls.
It's like, that's what you make her do. Anyways.
Yeah. And then, we cut to just this, might as well be bubbling hot bathtub.
It's boiling water.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely boiling water. And mommy is like, oh, well, now that you dirtied up your dress, clean it. So Alice is like, I don't want to go in there because it's boiling hot bathtub water. And mommy throws her in. And I think this is the actress doing such a good job of just, like, genuinely feeling like she's screaming in pain.
Yeah. I mean, obviously they're not throwing an actress in boiling hot water, but her acting was very well done. Also, mommy, just portraying that horror, is really well done. And her scrubbing just felt painful. The Foley that you hear of the brush just scrubbing on her skin, it was very uncomfortable.
And then, like, Alice keeps trying to get back out or, like, try to ease herself out. And she's like, nah, bitch, get in. It's like, ugh.
And then when they throw her back into her room, her skin is
red.
Crispy. The makeup was really well done there too.
For a moment, I just thought maybe I was like, "Oh, did they not get all the blood off her?" Because that's what I literally thought for a second. I was like, "Oh, fuck, that's her skin."
Yeah.
Also, what I'm guessing they probably did with the water was they probably put some sort of like machine underneath it to get the bubble,
Mm-hmm.
and then they probably put like a little bit of dry ice in the water to make it, kind of had that smoky effect.
From what I understand, it's pretty interesting. To get smoke in water, you have to have ice cold water in film, and then to get hot water, or it's opposite. The temperatures are actually opposite. Yeah. So when you're seeing an actor, they're reacting to the opposite temperature.
I mean, she is probably reacting, but she's probably like, "It's burnt." She's like, "This shit's fucking freezing."
Exactly.
Get me out of here.
Yes.
However, Roach helps Fool escape, but is critically wounded. I guess he was shot.
He was. So when he was crawling, Fool, Roach, and Alice were talking in her room because they, Roach and Fool escaped. Daddy just burst through, shoots the shotgun at the grate that Roach goes through, and it definitely hits him in the side.
Got it. Also, that chase through the walls. Oof.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I remember let's go back to an old episode, actually, because we've actually seen the chase through a wall before, but it was not done as well, which was Texas Chainsaw 03.
Mm-hmm.
With Jessica Biel and a kid who's leading her through it. And I remember wishing, like, "Oh, that was fun. It was cool, And now we just watched this. I'm like, oh, okay, so this is like good.
Like, this is how it's supposed to be done. Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing I was not a big fan of is they reused the same dog shot like 3 times.
Yeah, I know.
And it was just dog booty hole up on my face.
And the chase scene was very long. I think it was due to the scenes that were reused, so it felt long.
As he dies, he gives Fool a small bag of gold coins and a written plea to save Alice. I was actually sad when Roach died.
Yeah, I was disappointed for sure.
I liked Roach. I mean, I think he's like, besides, Mommy and Daddy, like the only death besides Leroy. Oh, right, Spencer.
Yeah, there's a few dead bodies.
There's a couple.
Yeah.
Fool reunites with Alice, and the two escape into the passageways between the walls. Daddy releases his Rottweiler dog Prince into the walls to kill them. Daddy tries to gas them out.
Yeah.
With the furnace.
Yeah.
And he burns Roach alive. Oh, not alive, but he burns his dead corpse.
Mm-hmm.
Fool tricks Daddy into stabbing Prince, and he and Alice reach the attic where they find an open window above a pond. Now I just want to talk about this. Here's the thing. If I was the Rottweiler, now I have a natural fear of Rottweilers because I was attacked by one when I was 10. So like seeing a kid in a Rottweiler actually like gives me PTSD. Like I freak out because I had to be pulled away because the dog was like trying to attack. He attacked my dog, and he was in the ER for like a month and a half. But like I have a natural fear of Rottweilers, so every movie where there's a Rottweiler, I get a little like, eh. So seeing children run away from this thing, I actually think the Rottweiler was scarier. I think Prince was scarier than Mommy and Daddy at some points. So that final confrontation with Prince and Fool, I was actually a little tense because I don't like Rottweilers.
Mm-hmm.
They just freak me out. They have their fight scene, and Daddy's like, "I killed him! Woo!" And this is his camp. This is where he goes campy.
Just dancing around, singing, I killed him, I got him. And I'm just like, wow, okay. This is very, very Hills Have Eyes.
Yes.
Type of situation.
And Mommy's like, "Show me.
Yeah.
I want to see his dead body."
See, Mommy's smart.
Prince.
A lot of the stuff, the brains of the operation is her, and he's the, brute force. pretty much.
Oh, he would get caught in it. He would get caught in a second.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So then Prince falls out and Mommy is distraught.
Yeah. That was sad. I didn't like seeing the dog stabbed.
I mean, yeah, but also like when the dog is like probably for the first like 2 acts of the movie, the scariest antagonist that they have to constantly go up against, it's dying at some point.
Oh, no, I know.
Also, can we talk about my favorite Prince scene?
Which one?
Where he gets to go on the roller coaster slide.
Oh, that was
back into the kitchen.
adorable. That was adorable.
He looked so innocent when he came back down. He was just like, I got a toy.
The dog, the actor dog, looks so pleased with himself that he stayed in that little bin and slid. He was just like, oh, I did it. Treat, please.
Also, that scene where like I give credit to the dog, where he's trying to get through the like the vent and Fool is like kicking the thing into his head.
Yeah.
Give credit to that the dog.
Absolutely. They really did a good job with this dog.
Yeah. Alice is too afraid to jump, and Fool is forced to escape without her, but he promises to return for her. So earlier on in the movie, we get a pond scene.
Yeah.
Where he's like playing in the pond.
Yeah, Fool goes over to play in the pond, and I'm like, okay, so this pond is going to come into play at some point. They wouldn't just go over to it for no reason.
And you know what was funny? What not funny, but like what I found interesting in this scene. It wasn't that she was scared to jump.
She was scared of the outside.
Yes, because she literally said, "I don't know what's out there."
Yeah.
So I'm like, I like when it's something, they don't give her like a giant monologue about why she's so scared of outside. It's just like a one little quick sentence. But I fully understand why she doesn't want to do it now. It's not the fall that's scaring her. It's the fact that that's completely unknown to her. Like earlier in the movie, he talks about a neighborhood.
And she's
like, what's
what?
a neighborhood?
Yeah, I mean, it's good writing when that happens. You don't need a monologue, like you said, and the acting is really well done when she can get across what her character is scared about in very little words.
So she stays behind, Fool jumps, and Daddy's like, I'm going to chase you and shoot my shotgun in public.
Yeah, in the
Don't
neighborhood. Great idea.
And Mommy's like, get the fuck back in this house, boy.
She calls him, like, bad boy or whatever, like, you're
Yeah,
punished.
you're a bad boy. She's like, she gives like a little pat on his ass.
Yeah. I was like,
bad boy.
oh, God, I hate all of this.
Mommy loves spanking Daddy.
Oh, God, stop.
That one was totally purposeful.
I
I'll let
know.
you know. Fool learns that he has enough gold to pay for both his rent and for his mother's surgery. He also finds out that Mommy and Daddy are actually brother and sister. Oofa.
Yeah. I was like, when they told us
Oofa,
that, I was
oofa.
like, I'm not surprised at all.
It's kind of that thing of like, I'm not surprised. I really wish that wasn't the thing, though. I just
100%.
wish they were actually married.
Yes.
And they just, like, I wish they were married and they kidnapped people.
Yes.
It's better than their siblings and they kidnap people.
Yep.
From a long line of disturbed inbred family members. They started as a family that ran a funeral home, selling cheap coffins for expensive prices. Capitalism.
Yeah.
Before entering the real estate business, leading them to become greedier and more unhinged. This family... I'm scared what, like, the past family looked like.
I agree.
Can you imagine those Christmases? Fool vows to help right the wrong. He reports Alice to child welfare. As the police are investigating the house, Fool sneaks back in and reveals to Alice that she is not their daughter and she was stolen from her birth parents, as well as all the other children in the basement. Okay, I think this covers like a good 5-10 minutes in these 2 sentences, so we can actually kind of go into it.
Yeah.
Calls Child Protective Services, and we get Mommy. Mommy being Mommy Dearest.
I also want to know the magic that they used to cover up the bullet holes, clean up
Yep.
the entire house, paint the walls in probably less than an hour of him calling CPS.
I think it was more comedic. Usually I'd be like, oh, well, Paige, here's the reason. But Daddy was shooting his shotgun like a madman.
Yes.
I don't have a reason.
And that
He
house
was
must be
fucking
soundproof
crazy.
because if nobody in the neighborhood heard that and reacted or called the police, come on.
I mean, the house is pretty soundproof. We've learned this
That's
throughout
true.
the entire movie. They have. So initially, I just thought it was plexiglass because plexiglass would make sense if you can't break it. But does plexiglass stop sound?
No idea. Absolutely no idea.
Everything is the windows aren't screwed. They're full like heavy duty bolted.
Yeah.
Grated from the outside, bolted from the inside. And then, I think this is probably one of the funnier scenes is Daddy's talking to one of the cops, so he picks his hat up, pats his head ever so slightly while he turns away and puts the hat back on.
Yeah, he has like the blood on a Band-Aid under the hat. It's great. It's really, really good.
It is. It's that thing of you get frustrated because you're like, oh my god, these cops are so fucking stupid.
Yeah, but it's a rich white family who got CPS called on them. The cops are like, oh, they're just an unassuming family. Oh, they're serving us tea and crumpets type of
They
thing.
don't even have children.
Exactly. And it's meant to be frustrating, that's for sure. But this wasn't even the goal of Fool. His goal
Fool was
was
just
to
trying to get in.
distract them so he could get into the house, and it worked.
I find it funny that Mommy's just like, I hope no one got out. And I was like, bitch, I'd be more worried that someone got in.
Exactly.
But yeah, we get a scene of him going upstairs, and this has to be Mommy's idea.
What's that?
The voice recording.
Oh, yeah. You think Daddy has the brains for this? Please.
Daddy comes out in his gimp suit. We're back to the gimp, baby, and we stay there for the rest of this movie.
It's like his battle armor.
Oh, God. Ew. And we get he gets beaten with, I guess, a fire poker.
Yeah, fire poker.
And then she gets like blasted in the knee with the fire poker. Fool escapes. Fool gets up top, hides for a little bit. He gets Alice out. I guess like Alice got bolted to like the chimney. I guess that was
Yes, I think so. Or
then-
a brick wall or something, whatever.
Yeah. Daddy comes up, and before Daddy can get to where Alice is, she talks so that he won't see that she's undone.
Yeah.
And then he full on grabs himself.
Yep.
Just like a.
Yep, he does.
I remember I had to ask you because I was like, Paige, did he?
Yes, he did.
Because my screen was blurry enough to where I can maybe believe he didn't do it.
But no, I had to make sure you understood and saw what I saw. So.
God damn it.
Yep.
And then, so that's tame for what's about to happen. So, but earlier on in this movie, yeah, there was a scene where I forgot exactly what happens earlier in the movie that gets. Oh, it's after she comes back from getting her bath.
Okay.
And he throws Alice on the bed. That scene.
Yeah, that scene.
So there's like, there's not even an undertone. You know what he wants to do. Like, you know what he wants to do. This is all coming back to what. Sorry, my washer is going like AWOL. Now, we get back to the bedroom, and Mommy's like, he's making her impurity. And and Daddy's first thing is, oh, they're fucking each other.
Yeah.
And in my head, all I heard wasn't, how dare her, how dare he do that to her? It's like, how dare she choose to fuck him over me? Like, that's literally how I took it.
Absolutely. That's exactly what that was. And he's like, oh, she's a whore, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, all right. I understand what we're trying to do with this, but I don't want this in my life.
I don't need this.
I don't need this in my life.
And then mommy slaps daddy.
Oh, yeah, real hard.
So then daddy chokes the slap mommy. So daddy proceeds to choke mommy.
Yeah.
Very sexual. It is a very sexual scene.
They're starting to lose it. Fool is messing up their environment, messing up their domain, and it's having an effect. That's for sure.
We get the chimney scene.
Mm-hmm.
Is up next. I love how Home Alone this entire scene is.
Yes.
This is such a Home Alone scene.
Yes.
Daddy's like, I shot him! And then he gets a brick just blasted on his head. Which, how this man has not been knocked out like 7 times throughout this movie, I'll never know.
Oh, I know. I mean, he's gotten a brick. What was it? What's his face? Roach, like, chucked a rock at him in his head. Yeah, there's a bunch of things that's happened to him.
Oh, God.
You
like,
know?
When the most tame thing that happened to you is, and it's the weirdest thing, because it's like the thing I think he had the most reaction to, is he gets like punched in the groin like probably like halfway through the movie, and that is the most he's ever been downed for this like entire movie. And I'm like, you've had like 8 concussions, dude.
Typical.
And you're gonna tell me a crotch shot? Mommy finds out that Alice knows the truth and believes that Fool has turned her against them, so she attempts to kill Alice. I find it kind of. Oh, we forgot the one thing where they come like sliding down the chimney and they're like, ah!
Oh, yeah,
and then Mommy's like, no! So then he sticks his fingers up Mommy's nose.
Yep.
His coal-infested fingers, and just like, eh. And Mommy just looks over it.
Oh,
Mommy's done with tonight.
Well, it's also because this impure child has touched her and put his fingers in her nose, and that's a violation for her, so...
She smelt evil.
Mm-hmm.
She has evil all up in her nose. So then, we get a pretty decent jump scare of Mommy grabbing onto Alice.
Yeah.
It was a pretty decent jump scare.
Their whole Fool's released the people under the stairs, right? At this point,
I think they get released in a little bit.
Okay.
Because right now his sister comes up to the door.
Oh, Ruby.
Yeah, Ruby comes up to the door, and then they do the whole community sees her with a gun.
Yeah.
And Mommy's like, well, you're not all white pures. You're not pure. You're not white, so I am allowed to shoot you. It's like basically her entire thing.
Yeah.
And then Alice Batman's Mommy.
That's a good description. Yep.
If you've ever played Arkham Asylum and you've attacked someone from the top of the gargoyles, basically this is just what, or like you crashed in through actually this is it. When you crash in through the ceiling with like the explosive gel and you're like,
yep.
Boom. That's it.
Yep.
That's all that happens.
Just this time, you're a 15-year-old girl in a dress.
And like, instead of like just punch, it's just like you grab her by her hair and just like, just like bang her a few times.
Damn.
I like how like everyone on the outside sees that happen, and Alice gets up, and everyone's like, the fuck?
Mm-hmm. What have they been doing to her?
There? So then Ruby and
Grandpa.
I forgot, what was the old man? It was just Grandpa?
Grandpa.
Okay. I didn't know if he had like a name.
He probably did, but he called him Grandpa something, so I'm just calling him Grandpa.
Okay. They get to where the basement is. They see what's his name come up now. And this is where the children under the stairs start helping.
Yep.
They pull him to where, you know what? Here's one of my critiques on the movie. That shotgun is a really good shot from getting shot like 10 feet away. Mm-hmm. It has no burst. It was like slug shots, it felt like, with that shotgun. Like, it felt like they should have probably given him a rifle, not a shotgun. But like that was kind of my one big critique.
But it's close quarters. I mean, they're fighting in a house, right? So
They are, but like, is it weird for me to think that like post like 2 feet, a shotgun should start to spread a little bit?
depending on the bullets.
That's true. Either way, the padlock gets shot, and the children are now doing their thing. Awesome effects on these characters. Like, all the children this year have really good prosthetics.
Oh
and,
yeah.
like, really good
Oh,
makeup.
it looks really, really good. They're very scary.
Very vampiric. Very, very vampiric. And they start doing, like, if you this next scene of like a guy in a gimp suit running around, children on the stairs, strobing him with flashlights. I was like, this is. You could have told me this was like a concept for Michael Jackson's Thriller. And I would have been like, yeah, this kind of checks. The gimp suit's probably a little bit too much, but no, yeah. The people
I could see it.
going around. And then one of the guys who ends up being like kind of the main guy, like main child down the stairs for like the rest of this movie, shows him where the gold is.
Yeah, it's in like a vault type of thing has that alarm that Spencer was talking about before that he went to go search for. He's like, oh, there's probably an alarm, and it turns out to be down here in the vault. And Fool's like, oh, I've been training with the best, so he pulls the cords. I guess he knows which cords or whatever. It's for the story.
Yeah.
And you see gold and money and cash, all of this stuff here.
So I have a quick question about this. When we are in like probably like 30 minutes into the movie, it feels like the people under the stairs want to eat Fool, but then when he comes back down at the end of the movie, they all know his name.
I think it might have been because of Roach.
That's what I was thinking, but I just wasn't 100% sure.
That's what I got from it. It wasn't really made that clear, but I think because Roach saved him and was like, he's like off limits, they were like, okay, we get this.
So that was the one thing I forgot is Roach and the people under the stairs aren't two parties.
Right.
Because, like, I can understand if you think for a second that Roach is like, the knight in shining armor of the people under the stairs, and they're actually like all evil people. You kind of learn at the end that they're he escaped, which means he's he goes through the walls, but he's not like Roach wasn't a different entity than the people that were down there.
To me, he was their extension since they couldn't leave that place. He was their embodiment throughout the film.
Yeah. And then, we get some daddy scenes. And then what's her name goes back outside because I guess
Ruby?
Mommy got back up without no one knowing.
Ruby went to go see if she left, and the neighborhood's like, no, she didn't come out here, and then the door slams shut, so.
And then we get this scene where Mommy's like, did you think it was gonna be that easy, child?
Yeah, because Alice goes to unlock the doors and master lock is put on and, Mommy's in charge. But I thought the acting between Mommy and Alice here was very well done. Mommy was really, really scary. Really scary. It has to do with the acting, and I also think a lot of the camera angles were very uneasy. They were mostly tilted or tilted up, where she looked like she had the power in the scene. It's Wes. He's gonna have fantastic shots throughout the entire film, and this is no exception.
But also, this is one of the weirdest movies I've ever seen from Wes because I felt. If you asked me, if I never knew who the director was, you didn't show me like the opening credits or anything, and you asked me who the director was, I would have said John Carpenter.
Yes. You said that while we were
felt a lot
watching it, and
more
I was
John.
like, you know what? Yeah, I could see that for sure.
I feel like this probably could have been like a collaboration between John and Wes. Like this like movie could have been like a combination.
Especially the music was really good, so I could be like, John?
So that was the thing. It was like, it kind of had some John to it, but then if you've seen enough of Wes's work, you know what Wes is like,
Mo.
You know, like how like all his music is.
Yeah.
Especially like because we've spent a while with Wes with Scream. We 1, 2, 3, 4 like in a row. We spent 8 weeks with Wes Craven music, and then we spent Nightmare 3. He has a very I would call dreamy type
Yeah.
of feeling to his, which like it's Nightmare, so duh.
Duh.
And for stuff like Scream, because I remember when we watched Scream, you hated the
Soundtrack.
why can't the soundtrack post 1. You were cool with 1, 2, 3, and 4. You were not a fan of.
Yeah.
I feel like this movie, it feels like a child's nightmare. So the kind of dreamy type of undertones to how the music goes actually fits this a little bit.
I mean, makes sense, right? Because our main character that we're living through is a 13-year-old boy. So
Yeah. Like I could have been like a 13-year-old and I could have had a nightmare that like resembled this movie. So mommy's like, I'm going to attack you with a knife. And then, I love this scene so much. A hand comes out of the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
And the children break out through like all the crevices this house has. It's just
Walls,
a bunch of children.
Cabinets everywhere. They're just coming out of the woodworks now.
And you know what was hilarious? Or like just interesting as well, I'd say. Probably interesting. Throughout this entire scene, until they attacked her, she still thought she had all the power.
Mm-hmm.
Like she was surrounded by nightmare creatures.
I think it was because she underestimated them. Maybe she thought that they had some sort of fear of her because she's had the power all this time and they wouldn't have attacked her. And obviously she was wrong.
Yeah, they cause her to flee and run. And I love how Alice doesn't stab her. She just runs into Alice,
Yep.
who has a knife in her hand.
Yep.
The children seize her and throw her into the basement where she lands dead at Daddy's feet. I was so sad when that happened. I wanted them to eat her.
Yeah, that would have been... But at this point, we're supposed to see them not as monsters. So if they did eat her, we would be like, oh, okay, they're bad. But that's not the point of this anymore, right?
I just wanted to see her.
Oh no. She deserves it. For sure.
She deserves it at this point.
Yeah.
Daddy finds Fool at the vault where Fool sets off explosives, demolishing the house and causing the money to blow up through the crematorium chimney and into the crowd of people outside. The only thing I remember of this... Okay, first of all, let's talk about Fool's, like, great deep distraction with the coins in the candle.
Oh god, it was so well done.
So good. That was a twist. I was like, oh shit, that's like actually original.
So
that's
just for anyone who hasn't seen it, the candle is behind this wall with the pile of money and everything, and you're seeing coins. It looks like they're being thrown. And Daddy is like, oh, you're counting the coins just like I've always done, blah, 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 and I'll do it again. And it turns out that the gold coins are lodged at different places in the burning candles. So when the candle burns, the coins drop as a distraction.
Also, I just want to talk about this room real fast. This room is just like, if Scrooge McDuck had a full chaos mental breakdown. But also, then there's like this like little tunnel. And on the other side of the tunnel is like the Umbrella Corporation from like Resident Evil. I don't get why.
Well, if you saw before, this used to be a funeral home, right? Because this was probably the mortuary area. So that's all formaldehyde, all that good stuff. And
then probably my bet would have been me is the house explodes and all you hear is kind of just an ADR of a person going, "Oh shit!" while just the house is exploding. And I'm just like, yeah, that's me.
The acting, by the way, and we haven't really mentioned it. The acting of Fool throughout the entire movie is very good. And I think it really shines here at the end where he's having this standoff with Daddy. You know?
See, that was the one scene I didn't like him in.
Oh, okay.
I think it was because it was the one time I felt like his lines were really scripted.
Okay.
It just felt like the rest of the movie, like, yeah, was there a script? 100%. But it never felt like it was
Forced.
a scripted character.
Yeah.
Or just forced. Yeah. This type of monologue, like the ending monologue, was really forced, it felt like.
I can see that.
Compared to the rest of his lines, at
Yeah.
least. Now, I will say, he delivered them very well. It's just that thing of, I feel like the writers did not have a good way of working this type of theme into something that fit the rest of his kind of character. So they just gave him the most basic kind of explanation to go with. Daddy's killed in the explosion, and Alice and Fool reunite in the basement. You know, loved ones. Weird.
And she's like, "Oh, are you okay?" Blah, blah, blah. Then he gets his one-liner, his campy one-liner. He's like, "I feel like $1 million." And I'm like, wah, wah.
Meanwhile, the people outside claim the money distributed by the blast, and the freed children venture into the night. I like how, you know what? I just want to acknowledge this real quick. I love how this script wrote a plausible way to get these kids out of the house.
Yeah, distraction.
Because I was just like, yeah, if I just saw millions of dollars floating and going to the ground, I don't care what the hell's around me. I'm going after that money.
Absolutely.
I want that money. And that is the people under the stairs.
Yeah.
You know, it's a long movie. I feel like, you know, we kind of jumped past a few stuff, and there's probably a few stuff that people are like, oh, you jumped past that. I will say, I loved it. I think this was one of those movies where it was like almost 2 hours long, and I felt like, you know, maybe you could have cut 3 minutes out, but it never felt like things were just endlessly lagging to where you're just like, oh my God, please just move on already.
Or unnecessary scenes. A lot of them made sense to get across certain feelings and understandings of the film.
Yeah. So, are you ready for what's probably going to be a very interesting movie roundup?
Yeah, let's go ahead and jump into it.
All right.
Alrighty. All right, everybody. Let's get to the movie roundup for People Under the Stairs. I'll go first, as usual. I really did like this movie. That's pretty much it. The filmmaking's really well done. Lighting is done. Music is well done. Characters. Script is pretty decent. The environment is so detailed and so well done. This is where practical effects absolutely shine. And I really miss that shit in current movies. So this was really, really nice to see. It's a Wes Craven film. You're gonna get good shit. Even his terrible, quote unquote, terrible movies are a good time because they're crazy and weird. Overall, I'm gonna give it maybe a 6.5, 7. Overall, just in general. It's not for this season. It's just movies in general. It's a good time. If you haven't seen it, give it a shot. It's a complete genre bender. You get camp, horror, funny, weird, drama, social political commentary. It's from 1991, but it's absolutely relevant now. So if you haven't seen it, give it a shot and see what you think about it.
I believe Jordan Peele's is producing a remake.
Shut the fuck up.
No, I'm pretty sure. Unless it got canceled, but I think sometime in 2020 or 2021 they acknowledged that he was producing.
I can see that happening. Yeah.
Now, this is. I'll start with this. I'm giving the movie an 8. I think it's like a really strong 8. Like, it has a lot of good it could go down to a 7 if this isn't like if the camp's not your style, probably.
Oh, and I love camp. Like,
Yeah.
that shit, I love it. I eat that shit for breakfast.
Um, this is. I'll probably say this. This is the weirdest movie in all of Movie and Haunt we've ever watched
So far.
so far.
So far.
Next week I'll let you know. It's gonna be weird for another reason. Oh, not next week. Next episode. But it's just this movie's odd. Is the best way I can put it. When you put it in like where it lies in the horror spectrum, it's weird. It's scary, but not scary.
Good example.
It's dark.
Good example that would kind of go with that would be Texas Chainsaw 2.
Yes.
If you've seen that before, that's the feel you're getting.
It's confusion.
Yes.
It's just genuine confusion because it's such a genre bender and a breaker. It's just, it doesn't. I can get why people would watch this and get confused.
Yeah.
And just be like, wait, but you said this was a horror movie. And you're like, technically it is, but it's also a dark comedy. It's a lot of weird things. I feel like in the scope of what Wes Craven has made, this is even a standout in the Wes Craven line of movies. It's so just unique in everything from characters to the actual locations that this all takes place in, to the stories that it wants to tell, to just the cinematography and the lighting. It's still very unique when you look at everything, you put them together. It feels like, do you know when sometimes, I think the reason why I think this is so weird is because this movie feels like a Tales of the Crypt.
Yes.
Or this movie feels like, like Twilight Zone, like something that's like in an all like just a very weird horror monster of the week, kind of just. It's in its own like weird universe.
I was just gonna say that, in its own bubble, and unique and odd absolutely does not mean bad. If that's what if you get from that, like the words unique and odd, and just you don't know where to place it, that's good. I don't want to see the same shit chewed up and spit out. This is just a nice breath of fresh air. I love weird shit like this. It's so great to watch now and again, to get away from the cut and dry horror that's always out there.
That, and also, let's talk about another movie that we both said is unique and odd in a different world, in a different, form. But at the same time, we sat there, and unfortunately, it was a cut episode, but we sang its praises, which was the original Candyman.
Yes.
It exists in its own bubble, in its own universe. If you go, what movie is it like? You're like, it's like Hellraiser, but not really like Hellraiser. It just kind of has that same kind of just gothic, fearful feel to it. But I can't sit there and describe that type of movie to you. I just go, watch it. It's good. Watch it.
Yep.
People in Stairs falls into that genre where it's just, it's good. You should probably watch it. And, it's that thing of when you watch it, you'll understand why I can't explain it very well.
And also go in with a fresh slate. Don't go in with expectations. Don't go in being like, this is going to be a gore movie. This is going to be a thriller movie. Go in being like, okay, I'm going to experience this for what it is.
Oh, 100. I feel like that's just horror in general now.
True, but you know what I mean. When you're going to go see a freaking Saw movie, you're like, okay, I'm going to go see a gory movie that's disgusting beyond belief. And that's what you get.
Oh, yeah. You're going for the traps, not for the plot. You're just going there for the creative traps.
Right.
And if the movie doesn't have creative traps, it's just like that movie was trash.
Exactly. So don't go in with that. With this, just be open-minded and have a good time.
Yeah. And understand that this movie does have some tonal shifting, because there's moments where it's very serious, then very campy, and then just goes back to being really serious for some apparent reason, and then it gets even more campy when it comes back.
Enjoy the roller coaster.
Oh,
You know?
100%. This is the type of house where they go, like, Halloween Horror Nights is like, yeah, we've done 2 houses on this. I'm like, I get it.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
wholeheartedly get this because this house is insane. This house could be the setting in which, like, an episodic Tales of the Crypt happens.
Without a doubt.
It's like
So
every door, something weird happens. And I'm like, yeah, I believe it. This house is that fucking weird.
exactly. So let's go into our first haunt in a pretty freaking long time because we got to do this movie justice, right?
Yeah, of course we do.
All right, let's get into it.
All right, haunt time. This one's going to be a little bit different because since we're in a half season, I just want to have a chill half season. We're going through, like, our next season's a 1-year season.
Yeah.
That's going to be rough on haunts. We're going to be burnt out by the end of it, probably.
So this one's basically just going to be like what we would like to see, basically. We're not going to do a full-blown, scripted one.
Now, one of my things is I really want to do that scene where you're in the where the children are, like, in their pen and they're, like, strobing and, like, flying around and shit.
Yeah, I think what would be cool is that if we have the stairs, like the door opens to the basement and we see the stairs,
Slide.
but then we see that they turn into a slide and then we just go right down and then maybe into their pen and we get strobed with lights and we hear them speaking and whispering and all that, and that'd be pretty
Well,
creepy.
it can start with, like, you don't hear them initially. You only hear the television that's, like, playing, and then they, like, start, like, coming in. Gimpsuit Daddy's gonna be there,
Chasing us with his shotgun.
chasing with his shotgun, grabbing his junk.
Ugh, great.
All the fun.
Fantastic.
All the fun. Prince has to be, like, there has to be a few Prince scenes, actually, because Prince is a very big part of this movie.
Oh, yeah.
There was, I feel like when Prince, the reveal of Prince is a good reveal, where he just jumps out. And then also the where he's, like, breaking out of the vent. He, like,
Yes,
comes
I
out
think
the
that
back.
would be cool. If we were driving by and we hear the dog just jump out to the side of us as a kind of like a side jump scare, and he's struggling to get through the vent or something, I think that would be pretty cool.
We can do that thing of getting into the walls by having Roach, like, do a jump, like, because technically Roach is a jump scare character.
Yes.
His, like, main presence is, like, jump scares. So, like, you get jump scared into the walls by Roach.
Or we see him in the beginning or whatever, we're getting chased by Daddy, and we kind of do a hard turn, and we see Roach maybe kind of, like, pointing to where we have to go through, and that's how we get through the walls.
That's true. I think seeing his hand beforehand, like seeing his hand come out of a vent. No Leroy, no Spencer, just because they don't really
you don't need it.
We don't need them. We don't have Mommy. We need a little bit of Mommy.
We could have her, like, burn in hell, something in the kitchen with the knife,
You could just have a knife jump scare. That is true.
Yeah,
That is
something like that.
Just her with a jump scare with a knife. For a really good character, I like Mommy. I feel like she was genuinely scary compared to Daddy, who's just comedically scary. She doesn't get a lot of time in the movie. It's mostly a Daddy movie.
Yes and no. I think she does have her own scenes that are very memorable. So even if she technically doesn't have a lot of minutes, you feel like she has a presence.
Oh, 100%. We can do. We did In Between the Walls. We did. Which is kind of like where all the fun is In Between the Walls. We did Down the Stairs. We did. You see Leroy, nasty, just gutted.
I think maybe.
There's Leroy. There's our Leroy.
I think maybe if we're being chased by Daddy, we either are still in the basement or go back down to the basement, and we see Alice, and we're like, you hear the voice of maybe Fool being like, "Come on, Alice, we gotta go." Her chain breaks. She goes around a corner, and then she's our way out. Like, she leads us.
You mean the attic?
Oh, was she? No, she was locked in the basement, wasn't she?
She was locked in the attic.
Okay, well then we would make our way back down.
Yeah. A lot of these jump scares are just gonna be freaking Gimp Suit Daddy.
Oh,
probably. It'd just be a lot of Gimp Suit Daddy. It'd be Gimp Suit Daddy, Roach, the people under the stairs.
Sounds about right.
That's about the house.
But
do you want to go into what we are going to be doing for our final home invasion movie?
Yeah. So to close out our home invasion, we're going to be ending with an interesting movie. I know a lot of people aren't a big fan of it. I am, because it's absolutely terrible and ridiculous, and sometimes I like to watch those. So we will be closing out with When a Stranger Calls from 2006, I believe. So please join us for that. And thank you for joining us here for The People Under the Stairs from 1991, Wes Craven. It's definitely a time, and it's interesting and a breath of fresh air.
It's a gas.
Yeah. But yes, thank you for joining us. We're here on YouTube, if you're here on YouTube, and we're here on Spotify, if you're here on Spotify. Yeah, so wherever you are, if you're not on either of those, cross-platform, come join us. Come give us a shout out, comment, like, subscribe, all that normal stuff. You guys know what to do. But until then, we'll see you later. Whatever.
See you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.